This is one of the best AI video generators you can use right now. It's called Wan by Alibaba, and best of all, it's completely free and open source. That means you can download it and run it for free for unlimited times on your computer. So in this video, I'm going to go over its capabilities, I'm going to compare it with the leading video models out there, plus of course I'm going to show you step by step how to install this and run it on your computer. Alright, first up, let's go over some insane examples, just to show you how good this is. Here's an example of text to video, where the prompt is a group of people doing Pilates in an open lawn. And everything looks very consistent and realistic, even though there are a lot of people and movement in the scene. Here's another crazy demonstration. So here the prompt is two Asians performing ballroom dancing on an indoor stage. Even though there's a lot of spinning and action going on, Wan is able to handle this very consistently. There's almost no warping or deformations that we've seen with other video generators. This is super impressive. Here's an example of a boxing match between two cats. Even for the best video generators, they cannot generate a consistent fight scene like this. So again, Wan is just really good at handling complex movements and keeping everything consistent. Here's another impressive example of a dog slicing tomatoes. Note that none of the top video generators except for Google's Veo 2 can actually get this correct. None of them can actually slice a tomato realistically like this. So this is a super impressive video generator. Here's another crazy example of a couple dancing in this European palace. And again, everything is just really consistent. There's no warping going on, and their dance looks super realistic. The nice thing is not only can it do text to video, but it can also do image to video. That means you can create an image using Stable Diffusion or use an existing photograph and plug it into this AI as the starting frame of the video. And because we have image to video, this also works very well for anime generations like this. Here's another example of a cartoon generation where we upload this image as the starting frame. Alright, but enough of their demos, let's actually test this out ourselves. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you where to use this in a second. So here I've compared Wan with the leading video generator out there, Google's Veo 2, as well as two other top video generators, Kling 1.6 Pro and Hailuo Minimax. All of these are state-of-the-art, and they are among the best of the best video generators. However, all three of these are commercial models. That means they are closed source, you need to pay to use them, and you cannot just download it and run it locally on your computer. Now I'm going to run each video generator through a series of very tricky prompts, and I'm going to take the best of three generations. So for example, here are three generations from Wan 2.1, and I think out of these three, the bottom one looks the best. Anyways, here are the results comparing all four video generators. So the prompt is two samurais having an intense sword fight, and here are the best of three generations for all four video generators. Interestingly, for Wan, for all my generations, it decided that the samurais should be wearing a mask and a helmet. But anyways, as you can see, this looks like a very real fight scene. Not only are they clashing swords, but the dude is like charging at the other guy and trying to kick him. In terms of physics and motion and realism, this one looks the best. And then on the top right, we have Google's Veo 2. Even though it's great for a lot of things, it still cannot really handle a fight scene. You can see the motions are kind of unnatural. They're not really striking at each other. Something is just off about how they're fighting. And then Kling 1.6 Pro is kind of a mess here. There's a lot of warping going on, plus I don't know why the dude on the left starts off with one sword and then he suddenly has two swords. And then Hailuo Minimax is also a mess. There's a lot of warping going on. Again, something is off about the way they fight and swing their swords. So out of these four, I would say Wan 2.1 is the only one that can generate a realistic looking fight scene. Let me know in the comments what you think. Alright, here's my next test. So the prompt is a woman laughing uncontrollably. Tears streaming down her face. Now for Wan 2.1, she does look like she's laughing uncontrollably. Something is super hilarious here. Plus there are tears streaming down her face. And then for Veo 2, this woman is also laughing uncontrollably with tears streaming down her face. I would say if I compare Wan with Veo 2, it seems like the woman in Wan's generation, she just seems to laugh way harder than the woman in Veo 2. And then for Kling and Hailuo, there is a woman laughing, but there aren't tears streaming down her face. And both these generations are not laughing as hard as the woman in Wan 2.1. So again, for this prompt, for a woman laughing uncontrollably with tears streaming down her face, I would have to give the point to Wan. Alright, here's another really tricky example. The prompt is a gymnast performing a perfect backflip on a balance beam. Now, none of these generators could get it right. As you can see for Wan, there is a gymnast performing on a balance beam. There's no backflip though, and then somehow she just levitates and floats up to the balance beam. And then for VO2's generation, oh my god. Oh, that must hurt, man. Like if that happened in real life, her neck would be 100% broken. It's not perfect, but at least it is a gymnast performing something on a balance beam. And then for Kling and Hai Luo, I don't know what's going on here. Can someone explain this to me? So clearly both generations are a fail, and it's hard to pick a winner here. So in terms of the best result, I would say it's a tie between Wan and VO2. Alright, next I wanted to test its ability to generate anime. So the prompt is a cozy cafe scene where friends laughed over steaming cups of coffee, anime style. And then for Wan's generation, this actually looks really good. This looks like a scene straight from an anime show or movie. And then for Google's VO2, it's good, but the characters don't really look like traditional anime characters, if you get what I mean. It's kind of Americanized in a way. And notice the fingers as they move their hands around, there is some considerable warping going on. Plus, this scene looks way too 3D and fluid, which isn't really how anime should look. And then Kling 1.6 Pro, surprisingly, this is a really nice generation. This also looks like a scene straight from an anime show. However, the cups of coffee are not steaming. Plus, this is quite a simple scene where, the camera just pans to the right and the characters don't really move except for their mouths. And then Hai Luo Minimax, for text to video, I cannot generate a 2D anime scene. So this one came close, but it's still very 3D and not really the style that I was going for. So I don't know about you, but out of these 4 generations, I would pick Wan 2.1 as the winner. Let me know in the comments what you think. Alright, next up, let's test its ability to generate Disney Pixar style animations. I've shown this clip in a previous video. The prompt is a princess wearing a beautiful glittery white dress, running away from a massive dragon with glowing red eyes, Disney Pixar animation style. I've tested this prompt before on all the other video generators, and it's a surprisingly challenging prompt that none of them could get correct. Except for Alibaba's Wan. So you can see this is indeed a princess wearing a glittery white dress, and she is running away from a dragon. Even if you look at Google's VO2, the princess isn't running away from the dragon. She's gonna get killed. Which is shocking considering that VO2 is, the best one out there. And then for Kling, it couldn't even generate a Disney Pixar animation style. For Minimax, surprisingly, it's really good at generating these Disney Pixar style videos, but the princess isn't really running away from the dragon. She's just slowly tiptoeing away. So again, in this case, I would have to give the point to Wan. Here's a test on its ability to generate text and writing in a video. So the prompt is a professor writes hello on the chalkboard, and none of them get this correct. So if you look at Wan, first of all, the professor isn't actually writing the word hello on the chalkboard. The text already exists there. And then even with VO2, the professor isn't writing each letter of hello on the chalkboard. You can see there are some flaws with how he writes on the chalkboard. And then for Kling 1.6 Pro, what is he doing? Can someone explain this to me? Anyways, Kling is known to do really bad at text. It can't really generate consistent text in videos. And then for Hai Luo Minimax, this generation is just wrong. So in this instance, I would say it's a tie between Wan and VO2. So those are just some of my quick tests. Keep in mind that not only did Wan win most of these instances, but it's the only one out of the 4 that is free and open source. Isn't that crazy? And just to show you how good this is, if you look at this video model leaderboard called VBench, and then you rank this by total score, note that the latest version of Wan 2.1 is currently at the top. It even beats Sora and Luma, Minimax, and Gen 3, which are all closed source and commercial models. So this is insanely impressive. Alright, so hopefully that gives you a sense of how good Wan 2.1 is. Next, let's go over where you can actually use this. Now, I'm going to go over how to install it and run it locally on your computer. You'll need at least 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but in case you don't have a good enough GPU, here are some online ways you can use it. So the first place is Wan's official platform called wan.video, which I'll link to in the description below. So when you sign up for a free account, you get 50 credits to start, plus you get free daily credits just by checking in. And it takes around 10 credits to generate a video. So it's a pretty generous free plan. Now over here, you can even generate images with this, or you can click on AI videos to generate videos. So there's text to video where you would enter in a prompt, select the aspect ratio. You can even add sound effects to this and then click generate video. There's also image to video where you can upload an image to use as the start frame and then enter in a prompt. This is optional, so if you leave it empty, it would just try to generate a video from this frame. Or if you turn this start or end frames feature on, you can even upload a start frame and an end frame. So for example, we can upload these 2 frames and it's going to generate a video that generates everything in between. So that's one place to use it. Or another way to use it is Alibaba's Wan platform. This is not only a video generator, but you can also generate images. You can also chat with it like a regular chatbot. You can use this deep thinking mode, or you can even search the web. But just to show you its video generation capabilities, you can enter a prompt here and then click video generation. And here's the drop down where you can select the different aspect ratios. We're gonna go with 16:9 and then click generate. And this is what we get. So here is a group of Pomeranian puppies learning to become chefs. Very nice. There's also this free Hugging Face space, which I'll link to in the description below. And again, it has text to video and image to video. Again, it's a pretty simple interface to use. You just enter in a prompt here and then click generate, and this is what you get. Note that this Hugging Face space can be congested at times, so I'm not sure if you'll actually get a successful generation. Usually the wait time is really long. Or really quickly, here's a few other places where you can try it. Now, these are paid platforms, but you can use Monica, which has all the best AI models and image generators and video generators in one place. So if you do video generation, note that they already have Wan 2.1 here, as well as Google's VO2. If you want to use Monica, I do have a nice discount code for you, so check the description below. You're gonna love this. I'm partnering with Nvidia to give away an RTX not 5, but an RTX 6000 Ada. This has a whopping 48 gigabytes of VRAM, which can easily run the best AI models locally on your computer. Plus, it's personally signed by Jensen Huang. This is one of a kind, and it could be yours. Simply attend any session in their upcoming GTC event, which is taking place March 17th to 21st this year, both in person in San Jose, California, and virtually. This is a global conference covering a wide range of topics from AI to robotics to computing. There's going to be a ton of talks from the top industry leaders and experts, so you're going to get so much value from this. You can register to attend virtually for free. I highly recommend the keynote by Jensen Huang on March 18th. He's going to share a ton of insights on AI, agents, robotics, and computing. Here are some other sessions that I'm personally really interested in. On March 19th, there's going to be a talk on humanoid robots, which is super exciting. And then on March 20th, this talk on quantum computing will also be super insightful. Jensen will host this talk with a ton of industry leaders in the space, so you can get the most up-to-date overview of what's going on in quantum computing. Alright, so back to the RTX 6000 Ada giveaway. How exactly do you enter this? Simply click the link in the description below and you'll see all the instructions on how to enter. Now back to the video. Yet another place where you can use Wan for both text-to-video and image-to-video is this platform called Fal.ai. I'll also link to this in the description below, but again, this is a paid service, so I believe it says here you do need to add $5 before you can run this. And then one video costs around 40 cents. Anyways, those are all the places you can use it online. Next, let's move on to how you can install this locally on your computer so you can run it for free for unlimited times. Best of all, this is under the Apache 2 license, which means you can do pretty much anything you want with it, including commercial usage. So I'll link to this GitHub page in the description below, which contains all the specs. Note that for now, you do need a CUDA GPU with at least 8 GB of VRAM. I believe there are more quantized versions that are coming up, where you can run this with as low as 4 GB of VRAM as well, so stay tuned for that. And the nice thing is they've already integrated this into Comfy UI, which is what we're going to use today. Note that there are 4 models that you can choose from, which I'll go over in a second. And that's pretty much it. So let's click on this link to check out the Comfy UI integration. So I'll link to this page in the description below as well. This assumes that you already have Comfy UI installed on your computer. If you don't worry, I've done a full step-by-step installation tutorial on Comfy UI. It's actually really easy to use once you get the hang of it. So if you don't have Comfy UI yet, definitely check out this video and then come back here. But assuming you do have Comfy UI installed, here are all the steps to install Wan. So let's go over this right now. First, we need to download this text encoder. So let's click on this link, and then there's an FP16 file, which is like 2 times bigger, or an FP8 file. Now, the smaller one just sacrifices a bit of quality, but it's more efficient. So if you have a lower grade GPU with lower VRAM, then FP8 would be the best option. In fact, that's what I'm going to download. So I'm going to click on this, and then this is going to go in Comfy UI, and then Models, and then Text Encoder. So let's save it in here. Okay, next we need to download this VAE file. So again, let's click on this and then click download. And this file goes in Comfy UI and then Models and then VAE. So let's save it in here. Alright, next we need to download the video models. So it can be found in this link. Now, the top 4 are image to video, and then the bottom 4 are text to video. So for the text to video models, there's a 14 billion parameter model and a 1.3 billion parameter model. Of course, this one with more parameters would give you better quality generations. This one supports up to 720p, whereas this 1.3 billion parameter model only supports up to 480p. Now, this smaller model is of course going to be a lot more compute efficient, so you can get away with running this on a lower grade GPU of around 8 GB of VRAM. And then there are also 2 image to video models. Both of them are 14 billion parameters, but one supports up to 720p and one supports up to 480p. So for me, because I do have 16 GB of VRAM, I'm gonna download this one, and I'm also gonna download this one, and hopefully this works. Alright, so back to this Hugging Face folder. For text to video, I'm going to go with 14 billion parameters, and I'm going to choose this FP8 version, which is a bit smaller, so I'm going to sacrifice some quality, but it's going to run a bit faster. So let's click on this, and then this goes in Comfy UI, Models, and then Diffusion Models. So let's click Save. And then for image to video, I'm going to go with this 720p version. And again, I'm going to choose the FP8 version, which is half the size, so it's more efficient. Let's click download. And again, this goes in Comfy UI, Models, and then Diffusion Models. Let's click Save. All right, let's double check that I have everything listed here. So in my Comfy UI folder, and then in Models, in Text Encoders, I should have this UMT5 FP8 safe tensors file. And then going back out in models/VAE, I should have Wan 2.1 VAE.SafeTensors. And then in Diffusion Models, I should have the text to video model as well as the image to video model if that's what you want to do. And that's pretty much it. Now, the nice thing about Comfy UI is you don't have to create all these nodes and noodles from scratch. You can just drag and drop an existing workflow onto here, so it's really easy to use. Let's start with text to video. Here's the workflow that we can download. So if I click onto this, then it just opens up this page with code. So what I'm going to do instead is right click and then click on Save Link As. So this allows me to save this JSON file to wherever I want. So let's just save this in this Comfy UI folder. Alright, so let's start up Comfy UI right now. Again, if you're not familiar with Comfy UI, definitely see this video for a full tutorial. Anyways, I'm going to start this up. Alright, so we have Comfy UI loaded up. It doesn't matter what you have on the screen right now. What we're going to do is drag and drop the JSON file that we just downloaded directly onto here. And then let's click X. And then you should see this pre-built workflow to use Wan for text to video. Now, if you see any missing nodes here, like for example, if we right-click onto this, it seems like we are missing this empty Hunyuan latent video node. It's probably because you haven't updated to the latest version of Comfy UI. So let's click on Manager and then click on Update Comfy UI. Okay, afterwards you should see Comfy UI has been successfully updated. So let's click Close and then Close again. And I think we do need to restart this, so let me exit out of this. And then open Comfy UI again. Notice that when I start this up again, it's installing some additional packages and dependencies from the update. Alright, so after updating, it should get rid of any missing nodes like this empty Hunyuan latent video. So let's start using this right now. It's pretty simple to use. Here is where you enter the positive prompt, and here is where you enter the negative prompt. So these are all the things you want to exclude from the video, and I just tend to leave this at the default. Now there are a few things we do need to double check before we run this. The first thing is this diffusion model. Let's click this drop down and make sure we select the one that we actually downloaded. So in our case, we downloaded this one, this text-to-V 14 billion FP8 model. So let's select this. And then over here, if we click this drop down, let's select this UMT5 one. And then for VAE, again, let's select this Wan 2.1 VAE. Now here is where you specify the width and height of the video. So because we've downloaded the 14 billion parameter model, this could go up to 1280 by 720. But to make this faster, let's just try generating a 4080p video first. And then here's the length of the video in frames that you want to generate. So if you go all the way here, note that right now the video is 16 frames per second. So if we generate 33 frames, that's a bit over 2 seconds. Now, of course, you could change this to longer, but you'll need a powerful enough GPU to run this. Anyways, for me, I'm just going to leave it at 33. So it's going to generate around 2 seconds of video. And then here are settings that you should be familiar with if you've been playing around with Stable Diffusion or Flux or Hunyuan. So each video starts with a frame of random noise, and the seed basically determines this randomness. So if you keep all the settings the same but you use the same seed, then in theory you would get the same generation. Usually this is not really important, so I just set the seed to randomize. And then for the number of steps, in general, the more steps you have, the higher quality your video will be. But at a certain point, you'll get diminishing returns. So if you set it to like 100, that's going to be way too many steps. And of course, it's going to take more time. So I tend to leave it at the default of 30, which is usually good enough. And then CFG determines how much the AI follows your prompt. So if you set this to a higher value, like 10, then it would follow your prompt more literally. If you set it to a lower value like 2, then it'll be more creative and not follow your prompt so closely. And then the rest of these settings, I would just leave it at the default. And that's pretty much it. So let's try this prompt. A woman crying. She is very sad and distressed. And then let's click Q. So you can see it's loading up the text encoder. Now it's loading up the diffusion model. And then it's now plugging the prompts and the latent image into this K sampler to generate the video. And note that if you open up your command prompt window, you should see the progress of your generation. So because we set it to 30 steps, here you can see it's divided by 30. Alright, so that took 10 minutes for my RTX 5000, which has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, so it isn't too bad. And here's our generation. This is indeed a woman crying, and she looks very sad and distressed. And by the way, this should already be saved in your output folder. So if we open up our Comfy UI folder and then click on Output, you should see your video over here. Perfect. So that's how you get text to video up and running. Next, let's do image to video. Now, going back to this page, which I will link to in the description below, if you scroll to the image to video section, this does require that you have one of these image to video models installed. So again, this depends on whether you want to generate 480p or 720p, and whether you want the quantized version, which is FP8, versus the full quality version, which is BF16. For me, I've downloaded this one. Another thing you need is this clipvisionh.safetensors file. So let's click on this, and then click download, And this goes in our models folder and then clip_vision. So let's click save and wait for this to download. Now, going back to this page, if you scroll down a bit, they already have an existing workflow for you to download. So again, let's just right click and then click on Save Link As. And again, we'll just save it to our Comfy UI folder, but you can save this wherever you want. Alright, so after we've downloaded this image to video JSON file, let's just drag this and drop it to our Comfy UI window. So you can see now the workflow is slightly different. Again, this green node is the positive prompt, the red node is the negative prompt, but over here is where you upload an image as the starting frame. Alright, so first of all, let's click on each of these models and double check that I do have these on my computer. So let's click on this drop down, and then let's select this I2V model, and then let's click on this drop down and select UMT5, and then over here is the VAE, so let's click on this and select Wan 2.1 VAE. And then over here, let's click on Clip Vision and select the one that we have. And that's pretty much it. So let's start with uploading an image, which will be the first frame of our video. So I'm going to upload this image as the starting frame. And then this image will be plugged into this. And then this is the width and the height of your video. Make sure it's aligned with your initial image, which in my case is 512 by 512. And then here's the length of the video in frames that you want to generate. For me, I'm just going to leave it at 33, so it's going to generate around 2 seconds of video. And here's the positive prompt. I could just leave this blank and it would just animate this frame, but I can also specify what I want her to do. So for example, let's input the woman turns towards the camera and smiles. And then here's the negative prompt. These are all the things you want to exclude from the video, and I just tend to leave this at the default. And then these settings I've gone over before. It's the same as the settings in text to video. And that's pretty much it. So let's click Q to generate this. Alright, so that was pretty quick. It took around 6 minutes to generate this. And here's the final generation. Very nice. You can see it even animates the background, and she does kind of turn towards the camera and smiles. This is one of the best image to video generators you can use right now. Note that again, this video is already saved in your Comfy UI output folder, as you can see here. And that's pretty much it. That's how you do image to video. And that sums up my review of Wan 2.1. I've gone over its capabilities, where to use it online, and how to install this and use it locally on your computer. This is by far the most impressive video generator that I've come across, and I can't believe it's free and open source. Like, it's as good as Google's Veo 2, which is super expensive and it's closed source. Anyways, if you run into any errors with the installation, always welcome to let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to help you troubleshoot as much as possible. If you've been playing around with Wan 2.1, let me know what cool things were you able to come up with. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.